about the state of the economy and centered on the latest report in the local dailies, which will appear shortly in your screen. That's the latest thorn, rather, in the flesh of taxpayers. A report by the World Bank touching on over 10 years where 328 billion shillings are said to be hidden abroad in offshore accounts. That money came in the form of aid cash into Kenya. This is in a course of over 10 years, and glaring statistics of where we are following that report by the World Bank that ranks Kenya right after Jordan in terms of the amount of money stashed abroad in foreign bank accounts. Now, this is definitely not good news, bearing in mind the tough restrictions that come with such aids, bearing in mind also loans as well. And this pandemic is definitely causing numerous disruptions, especially within the Kenyan economy. Well, in regards to that, we now want to bring in our guest, who's an economist. Dr. Exen Iraq is joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much for your time. We had touted this conversation earlier on, so we're definitely anticipating what you have to say. And I think it would be proper to start with that 328 billion shillings of aid money that is stashed in foreign bank accounts. I mean, this isn't good news, I must say, but when we see this, especially during a pandemic, what picture does it set in terms of the state of economy going forward, bearing in mind more aid money is definitely coming into the country?
Even if there was no coronavirus or COVID-19, that is still bad news. If you look at our budget every year, we record a deficit. Our revenues are always less than the expenditure. So if we start losing such money, when you have such a budget deficit, it's still bad news. We live in a country or in a continent where the level of economic growth is low, but the standards of living are low. So we cannot afford to lose any shilling through whichever means. So that is really bad news when you're talking of locusts. We are talking of COVID-19 and other national problems. So I hope that is going to come to an end, and we hope we are not going to be getting such headlines in the future. I'm wondering what a person on the streets of Nairobi or somewhere in the countryside is thinking when he sees such a headline. It is not very good news, not just for individuals, but also for the national image.
Well, definitely doesn't augur well with the struggling Kenyan. But still on the latest developments, you've brought about the issue of budget deficits. And this time round, Kenya has secured a 106.7 billion shilling loan from the World Bank. And this is definitely set to be channeled towards the budgetary support. Let's talk about our appetite for external commercial loans. Yes, this loan from the World Bank, it might be a cheaper concessional loan with an interest of roughly 1.7%, according to the information given. But when we look at a total debt in the country in excess of 6.3 trillion Kenyan shillings, I mean, does this augur even better in the Kenyan who's definitely struggling back at home? Let's help break this down for us. If the money is used correctly, what impact will this have, bearing in mind post-COVID?
I think the amount of money we are getting from one bank is quite substantial if it is put into good use. I'm thinking of the healthcare services, which is most critical now. We have to think of how do we take care of the people who are afflicted by COVID-19. Either we have to improve on sanitation, we have to look for shelter for the people who have been displaced by floods, we have to look for all other basics to take care of the most vulnerable members of the society. We have to think of the elderly, we have to think of the children and so on. So I think that budget, in my opinion, should focus on the most vulnerable members of the society, who are not only been affected by the weather, but also by COVID-19, considering that most of the cases are going to start emerging from the informal settlements, where most people don't get enough daily bread, where people don't have jobs or work in the informal sector. So to me, that money should focus on those vulnerable members of the society before we think of the other members of the society who are sources of income, who are formerly employed and so on.
All right, even as we talk about that, the shrinking economy is definitely a challenge that we'll definitely have to deal with as a country. The economy has been scarred. We have business set to declare insolvency. Now, this is not good news. What areas of defensive spending, of bailouts, or rather interventions should be focused on as we go forth trying to break away from this COVID-19 pandemic?
I think in the last 1 or 2 months, the president came up with a stimulus package, where he gave some tax relief to people who are employed. We tried to make sure that people have more money in their pockets by making sure that people who have very low levels of income don't pay any tax. I think we got 24,000 Kenyan shillings. So that was the stimulus package that we are trying to come up with, so that the economy still moves on despite COVID-19. So that is just one of the ways we can stimulate the economy to make sure that it still goes on. But I think it is more than that. We need money because when you cut taxes, the government needs some money. The services must go on. People must be paid salaries. So we still have to think of how do we raise extra money. And it is obvious that if we cannot raise money from taxes, there are other alternatives to borrow money. That's why we are getting money from World Bank. That's why we have to get some money from donors and so on. So inevitably, we must look for resources. The bad news is Kenyans have been complaining about high debts. Yet COVID-19 demands we get higher debts. And that's what is happening in the US, in Europe, and other countries. If the government doesn't have enough resources, you have to borrow. But we are hoping that the money that is borrowed by the government, whether it is locally or whether it is offshore, we put in the right use. That is my hope.
All right, now let's take a look at what's happening on the ground. We have reduced economic capacity, but with a country that has roughly 83.6% of the total workforce being informal laborers. Basically, you might be paid on the days you actually go to work. So when this isn't happening, industries, most of them might be closed and the economy is shrinking. How does the common mwananchi survive through this period?
I think that is the biggest question you can ask me. That's the biggest question the policymakers, the government, both county and national government should answer. But the best way to confront this issue is to look at it from both the government perspective and individuals. As individuals, we cannot wait for the government to do everything. We must do something. And I'm very impressed by the way certain Kenyans are reacting to the COVID crisis. I've seen people doing some things they never used to do, like selling. The other day I went to Royal. I was very happy to see some men parking their cars on the side of the road and turning them into kiosks. So you see the back side of the car has mangoes, has bananas, and so on. So people are adjusting to this new reality. I'm also impressed by what other people are doing. Instead of staying in the house, you can do other things. Some of the things are you do things yourself instead of waiting to go to somebody else. People are shaving their head. People are making their hair. So as individuals, we must do something to keep the economy moving. But the government cannot absorb its responsibilities. The government is always supposed to come in when there's such a crisis. In Europe, in US, I'm seeing the government guaranteeing some jobs, paying up 80% of the salaries as COVID-19 hits. So I think the government should also come up with mitigation measures for our small businesses, because it is not their fault. Nobody predicted COVID-19. So the government should be able to give small businesses some loan guarantees, maybe low interest rates, or maybe payable over a long period of time. Because nobody predicted COVID-19, but we are in it, all of us. Whether we are individuals, whether we are government, county or national government, we are in it. So it is not one-man show. The government must play its part, individuals must play its part, because we must overcome COVID. It is here, and we cannot run away from that responsibility.
Okay, finally, with the mitigation measures put in place by the government, we talked about the tax, no tax for salaries less than 24,000. The central bank as well reducing interest rates to record lows. What more should we do? Because the World Health Organization projected that this is definitely an endemic. It might be here to stay. And we're just on the onset of this, 3 months into the pandemic, yet the economy has already taken a hit. With those restrictions, or rather mitigation measures put in place by the government set to last for a certain period of time, And this will definitely injure the economy one way or the other, bearing in mind interest rates do play a part in, growing the economy. How exactly should we look at this past this mitigation measures? Should we look at an extension of them? Or how exactly should we approach it?
I think that this is not an issue that is confronting the Kenyan government or the Kenyan people. It's a global issue. If you look at the most countries in the West or in the East, they are trying to open up. Because even South Africa, I saw them saying they are going to open their schools from, I think, 1st of June. Because the reality is that COVID or no COVID, the economy must go on. So people are debating, are we going to close down our economy indefinitely? So I think the reality is coming down that we must, at one time or the other, start opening our economy, because those mitigation measures cannot be indefinite. You cannot keep on supporting businesses indefinitely. You cannot keep on giving people money indefinitely. You cannot keep on giving people money or food indefinitely. So eventually, governments must come up with ways on how to divide the economy. And one of the ways is to start opening it up. And I think the government of Kenya should come up with a very good plan on how to slowly start opening our economy. I know there are risks. Those are risks we can confront as we do that. We don't want the effects of economic closure or lockdown to be more than the deaths from the economy or the deaths from COVID-19. It's a very delicate balance, but we need to look at it. We cannot sustain those measures indefinitely.
All right. Many thanks, Dr. Iraki, for your time right here on News Center. We'll definitely look forward to more conversations, especially since this is a definitely growing concern among Kenyans, the state of the economy, and we well know the widespread effects of the pandemic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. We now want to highlight what's happening in Wajir County.